Susan looked particularly distraught. The Doctor and the TARDIS were the only two things in her life which had proved constant and true. And now her grandfather lay unconscious on the floor, and the TARDIS was beginning to behave with an almost malevolent unpredictability. If those two things failed her, what would she have left? Suddenly, she shook herself out of her uncertainty and sprang to her feet. With the Doctor out of action, she was the only one who could possibly discover what was happening to the TARDIS. "I'm going to try the controls," she resolved. Barbara muttered a word of caution, but Susan strode resolutely over to the central control console. She reached out a hand to touch the controls on one of the 6 panels, but before she could, her body convulsed, her back arched, and she fell away from the controls to join her grandfather unconscious on the floor. Ian rushed to her side and felt automatically for a pulse. He looked over to Barbara. "She's fainted," he said. "But I don't understand it. She was perfectly all right a minute ago." "Yes," said Barbara, "but a while before that you were all unconscious." Ian stood up and moved to the control console. As he did so, he staggered and seemed about to fall. Barbara was at his side in an instant. "What is it?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Ian shook his head. "I don't know. I suddenly felt dizzy." He raised a hand to his brow. "I've got this terrible headache." "That's not like you at all," said Barbara. Normally Ian was in the best of health. "You don't think it could be radiation sickness, do you? Like we had on Skaro?" "I don't know, Barbara," Ian replied helplessly. "We don't know what power that explosion may have unleashed." "Sit down," urged Barbara. "Let me help you to a chair." As they moved away from the console, Ian pointed to the doors. This time they had remained closed. "I don't understand it," he said. "What's going on around here? How could those doors have opened by themselves?" "Ian, you don't think something could have taken over the TARDIS, do you?" Barbara could still hear the steady in-out breathing all around them. Logic told her it was the TARDIS's life support systems, but in the threatening gloom of the control chamber, she was not too sure. Had an intruder somehow come aboard the TARDIS, and was even now stalking them? "How am I supposed to know?" snapped Ian, and then immediately apologized for his sharp tone. The tension and uncertainty of their situation were beginning to affect him too. By their feet, the Doctor began to groan. Barbara bent down to tend him. "He's beginning to stir," she said, and then looked at Ian in concern. "Ian, are you feeling better now?" Ian said he was. "Well, take Susan and put her to bed. I'll look after the Doctor." Ian nodded and picked up Susan gently in his arms. As he left the room, he turned for one final look at Barbara kneeling in concern over the frail figure of the old man. "If anything happens, let me know." Barbara smiled, a half-hearted smile which did nothing to conceal the anxiety she felt. "What could happen?" she asked. "I don't know," said Ian, and realized that in this ignorance lay their greatest weakness. If they knew what they were up against, they could approach it rationally and conquer it, but in the darkness and silence of a strangely threatening TARDIS, all they had was their fear of the unknown, a fear which was already tearing their nerves to shreds. As Ian left the room, the Doctor's eyelids fluttered open. He looked up, glassy-eyed, at Barbara's face. It seemed to take several moments for him to recognize her, and when he did, his first concern was for his granddaughter. "Susan," he croaked through dry lips. "Is Susan all right?" Barbara smiled reassuringly down at him. "She's fine. Ian's taking care of her right now. But how are you?"